Thank you, Amanda, and good morning, everyone. I think before we begin, I want to acknowledge and really thank everyone who's helped Jaguars navigate the COVID virus and kept our team healthy. Our medical group, athletic trainers, as well as the players and the coaches, all did an exceptional job of creating, protecting each other from the first day of training all the way through yesterday's game. I also want to salute our front office and City of Jacksonville for producing a safe and enjoyable experience for all the home games throughout the season. We were one of the very few teams in the NFL that had fans in attendance for all of our 8 home games. And obviously, it's a great credit to the City of Jacksonville and the Jaguars staff. And thank you very much for all you did. And finally, and most importantly, I do want to commend and applaud everyone who loves the Jaguars and who supported us throughout this year. The turnout was fantastic, and no matter what, our fans stuck with us, and it was amazing to see everyone. So thank you. I think, as you know, we are making a change with our head coach. I spoke to Doug at length this morning, and I'm grateful for what Doug did, serving the city with grace, and he cared a lot about the Jaguars and the people here in Jacksonville, and it really, I think it was difficult, but really the right thing to do. I wish Doug, Helen, and his family well, and I'm sure he's going to enjoy success in his next stop. So now we'll continue our search for our new general manager, and it'll also be time for us to find a head coach for the Jaguars. So thanks again for joining me, and I'm happy now to take your questions.
All right, thank you, Shad. Just a reminder to everyone, if you have a question, should drop it in the chat or use the raise hand function available via Zoom. We're going to start with Mark Long from the Associated Press.
Happy New Year, Shad. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. You've done this a few times, unfortunately, and haven't had a lot of success. How critical is it right now to make the right 2 hires, especially when you've been adamant that you want, fans are overdue to be rewarded?
Well, I think, Mark, I mean, this is our second search for the general manager in the 9 years I've been there, and Doug was with us for 4 years as a head coach. So I think, we work with them. We've been patient, given them all, obviously, the resources. And, certainly I'm committed to do a wide search and make sure we have the right people, to help us win.
And do you look at this like a lot of people around the league, that this is the best job or the best 2 jobs going right now?
Well, Mark, I certainly think there's a huge amount of interest, in this, much more so than the last time around. And I also look at really, we're in a much different, and I would say a better position today than we were a year ago. Little over a year ago, as you well know, and I think you reported, we did have team disharmony, and we were, to use the word, salary cap hell. I think today, I frankly thought we would do better in the season. We won 3 games. I mean, we won 6 games last year, and certainly we have a lot of salary cap availability along with the draft picks, and obviously the number 1 pick. But what's evaded the history of the Jags really has been a franchise quarterback. And I think what's unique certainly is that we have the ability now to make a choice, and it's going to define the franchise moving forward.
Thank you, Mark. All right, let's go over to Brent Martineau with Action News. Brent, you just need to take yourself off mute.
Got it. Sorry. Happy New Year, Shad, and everybody else. Thanks for taking the time. You've done this a couple of different ways, obviously, from trying to go with Tom Coughlin as the Vice President of Football Operations, your patience. You've had a new head coach with Gus Bradley, a guy that's done it before, and Doug Marrone. I guess over these cycles, what have you learned that you might take with you in terms of what you might be looking for in a head coach and GM candidate going forward?
Well, I think, obviously you want the harmony and you want, the mission, the goal that we're here to win. So I think for me, somebody, a proven leader who understands not only the basics of football, the blocking and tackling, but more importantly, the modern football. Some of the things, the new footballs, but more importantly, handling the 21st century athlete at the same time. So the old and the new, I think, are absolutely vital, and then being able to attract really the right staff. I think that is a key element, that you're only as good as the people you surround yourself to. So who they can attract and really the approach is going to be very, very important for us.
All right, thank you, Brent. Let's go over to Hayes with 1010XL.
Hey, Shad. Is the plan to hire a head coach before a general manager? And if so, why do you like that model?
Well, I'll tell you, I think ideally you want to hire them about the same time. What I learned, and I think it's really true, it doesn't get quite the visibility, but the current environment is, the head coaches, the kind of coaches you want, they want to be able to work very closely with the general manager on the personnel side. A key thing how, we would be structuring this is that I'm going to have the general manager and the head coach report directly to me. And that way, really, you have the transparency and the needs and the concerns of both parties without really getting filtered or having a chain of command. So, and that's really what necessitates that you basically hire them about the same time. And really, you have a perfect alignment, which you need in a winning organization.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Hayes. Let's go over to John Reed with the Florida Times-Union.
How you doing, Mr. Khan? Appreciate your transparency. Can you give us a time frame of a timetable of when do you plan to hire? And also, second to that question is, do you feel you're further along since you already interviewed candidates for the general manager job? Just kind of what is the fit that you're looking for at that position?
Well, first of all, on timing, I think, this is something we're not doing, obviously that often. So I think, we're going to take our time to make sure we've looked far and wide and really a whole variety of candidates. So I really can't give you the timing unless when it's right. Obviously, we'll be sharing it with you. Now, on the general manager search, we've interviewed people who were available, but there are a number of them who are unavailable due to the league rules. And, today we'll be turning in our request to be able to interview some of those. So really this process is going to be running in parallel. And certainly, we'll keep you appraised whenever we have something worthwhile.
And just a quick follow-up. Who's all involved in helping you make these two decisions? Is it just you alone, or you have a search team, or did you?
Well, I've gone through the rite of passage, as a new owner coming into the league, the advisors, consultants, whatever. So, we did that. This time around, I think I have a much better sense myself. So, I'm the key decision maker, but we do have people at the team, at the Jaguars. I mean, Mark Lamping would be one who will be working with these people. So, they will be involved from that viewpoint. But, when it comes to who the key decision makers are going to be, I mean, you're looking at it.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. We're going to go over to Mike Duraco with ESPN.
Oh, Shad, thanks for doing this. Do you have any specific qualifications you want in a new head coach? Does he have to have previous head coaching experience? Are you willing to take a shot with somebody at the collegiate level? And can you maybe address the Urban Meyer rumors too, please?
Well, I think, all of that, if you look at, some of the successful head coaches in the NFL, 4 years ago, you probably had not heard of them. Okay. So I think there's a lot of talent out there. And frankly, we want to look at all that. I mean, if they're assistants, proven head coaches, all of that, we'd be looking at. And, the rumor of Urban Meyer, obviously, I've known Urban over the years through Big Ten and what have you. And, but, we've not spoken to anyone about this job or obviously interviewed him. I mean, this is something, it's just, made the decision this morning. So, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. All right, let's go over to Mia O'Brien with First Coast News.
Hey, Shad, Happy New Year. Kind of just building off of that, just to confirm, have you, I mean, obviously 15 straight losses, like you said, you haven't formally interviewed anyone, but were there conversations at all leading into this weekend with anyone other than Doug about this position as the head coach of the Jaguars?
I think no. I mean, I sat with Doug for 2 hours after the Bears game to really, one of the things or concerns I've had, I mean, we've had 6 starting quarterbacks over the last 3 years. And it's very clear that obviously, that's been something sorely missing, how we would develop them and, what is the criteria on that. So, we haven't had a job till this morning in opening. So it's, it would be pointless to talk about interviewing, let alone, seriously considering someone.
With that said, so does that mean that when you had that conversation with Doug after the Bears game, at that point, were you looking to Doug as your head coach for next year?
No, I mean, I was looking to really what is the right thing for the Jaguars, moving forward. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Mia. All right, let's go over to Cole Pepper with WJXT.
Good morning, Shad. In the past, you've talked about your philosophy of hiring being about hiring people you like and who are good at their job. Because of those criteria, are you also adding in, are you looking for somebody who can define an environment or sort of a team culture more than perhaps in the past? And how important is that aspect of these two hires?
Well, I think team culture, is about winning. And if you look at it, it's ancient history, but 3 years ago, I mean, we were in the championship game. So that is really a key lesson. It's about culture, which is about sustaining winning. It's a little bit different than managing losing. So, and so that is obviously an aspect of that. You want to be able to get to win, but then you want to be able to sustain that moving forward.
All right, thanks, Cole. We're going to go over to John Shipley with the Maven.
Shad, thanks for doing this. Just you mentioned how the team's in a better place now compared to last year, just in terms of the situation. Do you have any regrets about bringing Doug and Dave back for 2020?
Not at all. No, I don't. And I'll tell you why, because, when I sat down with them after Tom's departure, both of them, expressed a desire that they want to be able to, demonstrate what they can do working together. And also, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, we had serious issues with the team. So who better to help clean it up, who were part of that, really creating the mess? That would include me. So it was the three of us really need to join hands, and you want to win, but you want to set the foundation. That was, how do we help the players who don't want to be there, exit with the right value for the Jaguars, and then who are the players, maybe veterans? How do we identify them? Who would be better off going someplace else, and it would be salary cap and draft picks we could invest in new players. And that was done earlier, well, last year or, this season. And then some of the capital, obviously, we have for the future. So, I mean, they played a role, but, we're not where we would be, where we could, sustain or extend them.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Let's go over to Gene Fournette with the Florida Times-Union.
Hey, Shad, you had mentioned earlier that you would like to kind of hire the GM and the head coach about at the same time. Are you willing to let the chips fall where they may on that timeline, or do you specifically have an idea in mind that you would like to hire one or the other first, even if the timeline is very close?
Well, I think, Gene, you have to have a sense, both of them have to know who's going to be the other person. Okay. And so to me, that is really a critical point. And I think I can, also share with you that last season, I mean, especially after Tom's departure, he had the roster control. So, I kept the roster control, and the candidates, the general manager candidates, I've been talking to them that for the immediate future, I'm going to keep the roster control. And I want the coach to know that also. And it's not to really who's coming in, but it's to really have a rhythm that everybody's aligned on who might be leaving the team and who might be coming in, at least for the immediate future. So those are some of the nuances that I want to make sure that everybody's on board with, because I think it's really, really important here, and we don't head off in a wrong direction, with an imbalance in power, for lack of a better word. So I hope that kind of explains some of the logic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Let's go over to Sam Kavaris.
Hey, Shad, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Shad, based on the comments that you have made during the season, are you committed to hiring a man of color for this job?
I want to get the best person for the job, okay? And I think diversity is, very important to me for many, many different reasons. And I think, we're going to look far and wide, but I think what's most important is this inflection point for the franchise. We have the best leaders, and I say general manager as well as the head coach.
So for neither of those jobs, that is the priority. It'll be a consideration, but not a priority?
I think it's a consideration to really get the best person, and then how do we move the needle on diversity? It's, there are many, many different ways of doing that. It could be assistance, could be other things that we can do to really, diversity is a major significant issue, I think, for the NFL. But you hire not the best person just because of color, you're not helping the franchise or the diversity. And I've gone through this diversity issue in the auto parts space for 40 some years. And you don't want to set up a person, of color to fail. You don't want to set them up to fail. You want to set them up to succeed. So that whole really nuance, I think, is very, very important to me. And I think, it has to play in, but doesn't mean that absolutely it has to be a person of color who's got to be the top person.
Thanks, Shad. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Sam. Let's go over to Demetrius Harvey.
Hey, Shad, I appreciate you doing this. Over the years, it seemed as though, or at least from an outsider's perspective, you took sort of a hands-off approach to controlling the Jaguars. The GM and the head coach were more of the power. Will you be taking more of a hands-on approach moving forward? And could you just clarify as far as what you mean by roster control? Do you mean you have the final say?
Yes, not the final. Well, yeah, the roster control is you don't want players going in and out or contracts given till you're aware of that. So, striking the balance between, delegation and abdication, I think is an important point. And certainly I found that in the last, 15 months, having that, necessitates the conversation. You're part of the conversation with the GM and the head coach. So being part of that here, for the immediate future, I think is important to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Demetrius. Okay, we've only got time for two more, so we're going to make sure to get to Jordan DeLugo and then Jamal St. Cyr, who've had their hands up.
Hey, Shad, thanks for doing this. Are you going to be looking for more of a win now mindset than you did going back to the first time that you did the GM and head coaching hires at the same time? Or is it going to be a longer rebuild like it was last time with Dave?
Well, if you look at it, I think you want to have both. So 4 years ago, when we did the search, the mindset really was with the head coaches I interviewed was, we need a rebuild. We need extra time. We need this, we need that. Okay. And at least my mindset with 3 games, my mindset was we have talent here. What would you do, et cetera, et cetera. And the most success we've had came right after that. Okay. So I think, we have a great group of young players. Obviously, we're going to have an elite franchise quarterback. So, you can't have a mindset, this is a rebuild and it's going to take time, et cetera. We have to have a mindset we're building for the long haul, but you have to be able to win at the same time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, let's wrap it up with Jamal St. Cyr.
Hi, Shad. 2 questions really quick here. Have there been any decisions made about the rest of the coaching staff, if anyone would be retained? And how high on your list of things when you're looking at coaching candidates is having someone who has a history of working with young quarterbacks?
I think, obviously developing a young quarterback, we've been very unsuccessful at that. Okay. Last 8 years, and we haven't had a quarterback or franchise quarterback. So I think that is very, very important. The assistant coaches, the ones that are under contract, we're going to keep them. We have some good coaches here, and I want the head coach, whoever that might be, to be able to look at that and retain some of them. But that would be the head coach's, obviously, decision.
All right. Thanks so much, Jamal. We appreciate your time. And to all of our media, we appreciate you joining us today. Any final words you wanted to share, Shad?
No, I think, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and, we will keep you appraised as we move forward.